It's Wednesday night. Time for the Twin Flames Radio Show with Sean and Debbie Michael. Call in to connect. Get a free reading. 1-888-454-ASK-1. That's 1-888-454-2751. Outside the U.S. and Canada, 919-341-5615. This is the Twin Flames Radio Show on A1R, the Ask One Radio Network.
Welcome to the Twin Flames Radio Show here on A1R Psychic Talk Radio.
Welcome. We have a special guest today, and her name is Alia Leon. And we're very excited to talk to her. We've got a topic that we haven't covered yet, more about elementals and fairies.
And Alia, she is a clairvoyant, clairaudient, empathic medium and soul therapist based in Berlin. So we'd like to just go ahead and open up the line and welcome her to the show. Alia, how are you this evening? And thank you for joining the Twin Flames Radio Show.
Hello, Sean and Debbie. It's nice to be here. Thank you. I'm fine.
Fantastic. Well, you know, we are just around the corner for a new year, 2013, and a lot of our listeners here in North America and down under have been inquiring about a topic that I know that you're passionate about.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you being an international expert, first and foremost, for our new listeners who are new to your name, can you tell us a little about yourself as far as being an intuitive and your passion and your abilities of who you are, and introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay. Well, my name is Alia Leon, as already said. I'm a clairvoyant medium, and this gift has been running through my family for generations. And I was always very passionate about it, always loved these topics. And I got very attached to the elemental world and the fairies because I basically encountered them so many times that I thought, okay, I need to investigate this more. And so what I'm basically doing is I'm giving readings to my clients, but my great hobby is also investigating the world of the Fae and also writing down their messages and authoring books. So I really love it, and I also like to illustrate them whenever I have time. And yes, one of my biggest passions.
Wonderful.
You do readings, of course, and you do readings for clients worldwide. Your website now, can you direct the listening audience to your website? Because I do see you have some information on your blog and some artwork that you have presented there. Yes. What is your website?
So my website's www.fairy -queen.com. It's very important to spell fairy with A and E in the middle so they get to the right side. And there they have all the links also to my YouTube channel and my Facebook site. So anyone who's interested can reach me there.
Well, we are excited to have you because it's a topic that both Debbie and I are not as well versed on as fellow intuitives, and we look to leaders like you here in the international community to address this topic that a lot of people are wanting to learn more about, and that is about elemental beings. And you have some things documented on your website as far as experiences and personal testimony as far as that. Can you share with us from your perspective how the elemental beings interface with you as an intuitive, and how in turn it represents that as far as how they can work with your clients too?
Okay, well, the thing is with the elementals, they make themselves known basically first through energies. I sense them, but that was the thing that happened in the beginning quite often, and nowadays it is more like I see them. I see them with my third eye because I'm clairvoyant. However, they're not confined to only making themselves visible in that way. They can also become visible to the physical eye, which is something that's really exciting. So I actually did see orbs, and I did see them floating through rooms, even through houses, not just the open nature. So I learned a lot through these encounters with the fairies. And from the fairies, I also learned a lot about the energetic households of our own bodies. And the fairies are very, very intelligent and can also help us in our personal development. They can assist us and become great companions, guides, and also protect us. So I'm also planning to give special fairy readings readings to people who have their own personal fairies with them. Sometimes they don't know about them, but I can see them. And these fairies often give messages about that person and about the stage of life they're in at the moment. So it's a very beneficial relationship with the fairies.
Wonderful. Now, Alia, I have a question for you. Now, do fairies have the same relationship with human beings like our guides and guardian angels, or is their role more like being a protector or guardian of nature?
Well, they can certainly take that role, but they're not confined to it, and they usually choose who they feel comfortable with and who they trust. So it's very much dependent on the relationship, the individual relationship we have with them, and also on the type of fairy. So there's actually potential to have this sort of relationship, but the biggest difference is that our guardian angels, for example, are the same ones throughout all our incarnations, whereas the fairies will always come and go as they please. So it doesn't have the same constancy as what we would have with our spirit guides and guardian angels, who are actually appointed to work with us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, if fairies have spiritual role to play with human beings, what would that role be, and what is our role in return?
Well, the thing is, they help us, of course, to reconnect with the earth and nature and to realize our intimate relationship with it and all its beings. So they also assist us in awakening greater joy and creativity in our lives. And they can teach us about healing herbs, stones, energies, talking to animals, and all these sorts of things. And in return, we help them to fulfill their own karma and to evolve, because they're very much affected by our behavior towards nature and all its beings. So they need our assistance as well, and in order to fulfill their tasks of guarding and sustaining nature. So it's a mutual relationship, this.
Okay.
Well, I'm just curious, can someone like myself talk to a fairy and call upon them for assistance, like I would, like, say, guide or guardian angel, so to speak?
Yeah. Yeah, sure you can. Sure. We can all call upon the fairies and invite them into our lives. And our call definitely will be heard, even if we don't get immediate signs. So it definitely takes a bit of patience, because they're not very quick to reveal themselves. But we can definitely call them for assisting us. And once we've shown respect towards nature and start making connection with them, we will get the signs, and they will come into our lives, make themselves visible, and send us signs. And it's really a thing of patience here, and keeping an open heart. So it's very worthwhile and wonderful establishing that sort of relationship.
Well, the more I think about in media and television, print, mass media, you see fairies often depicted as little humanoid beings with wings. Is this a true depiction of what they are, or do they appear in other forms, such as orbs of light, for example?
Well, the thing with fairies is they have a variety of shapes and forms they come in. Sometimes you have the little winged humanoid beings, and usually the flower fairies actually look like that. So this part actually does exist, but it really, really changes, and they're shapeshifters, as we should know. So sometimes they look like orbs, sometimes they look like animals, sometimes quite grotesque, sometimes a bit like monsters, and really they take different guises and shapes, and it's never really the same. It really, really depends on their whims and their mood.
So, Alia, what's the difference? And, we see fairies, we hear about gnomes, leprechauns, elves.
Yeah.
Are these type of elements, are they perceived differently by various cultures, or is it a true, distinction between each type, and give us a little bit of that information for people.
Well, the thing is, it's actually quite interesting, because there are real distinctions between the different types of fae, and they all include the gnomes and leprechauns and all. So we can use the term fairy. It's like a broad term, and leprechauns, gnomes, and all these are basically subcategories and just in a specific incarnation and expression of fairies. So they differ in their tasks, in their energy, their dwellings, and the way that they look, and they all have their certain tasks in nature. So, for example, the gnomes look after the earth, they build the plants, the trees, the minerals, and the crystals. The elves, for example, they watch the trees, the fields, and they're guards and messengers of nature. So they all have their own tasks, and they do look different. They really look different from one another, and there are even subcategories there. So there's not just one type of gnome, for example. So there are true distinctions here. And they can be found all over the place, so all over the world. So they're not really just a cultural thing.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Twin Flames Radio on A1R Psychic Talk Radio. We have a special guest this evening, Alia Leon. She's a clairvoyant, clairaudient, empathic medium, and soul therapist currently based in Berlin. And she's joining us to talk about a topic that she's very passionate about, and that is the topic of elemental beings. Alia, can you share with us a personal experience, perhaps, a story, unique experience you had in relation to this topic that you perhaps have experienced?
Okay, well, there was this time I had when I was still working in London in a normal office job at the time, when I had a type of water sprite always playing tricks with me, and they found this really funny. I always heard them giggle, because whenever I would drink water, they would basically jump in the cup, and the water would splash out into my face. I really don't know, I didn't know how that happened, how it was possible, but they did it each time, and I heard them giggle. So they love to play their games. And also there was a time a few months ago when they would come and visit me between 3 and 4 in the morning, like all types of fairy sending me messages and basically float in front of my window and eager to convey whatever message they had. So that was quite an intense and interesting time, because they would wake me and ask for my attention. So yeah, they can be demanding as well.
Wow. Well, and I have another question also. We've had friends, or somebody asked us about the fairy houses in there, and we've heard of those in the movies and certain, I think there was that movie, Sean, what was it called? I don't remember at the moment, but does this attract and please the fairies? And is there any legitimacy to that in doing this? And if would this be an ideal house for them to put out, and why, if it is?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, those fairy houses are a really nice way of drawing the fairies' attention to that particular spot, but it's not necessarily needed, because the fairies could use it as a playground, but rarely will choose it as a new homestead. So it's basically a nice way of inviting them. Mm-hmm. And if we choose to use a fairy house, it should be of really natural material, like basically of wood or stone. So nothing with plastic, because they're nature beings and they love the natural materials. But it's just one of many ways, but we shouldn't really expect them to dwell there. But they will recognize it with gratitude, and they will like it. But we may also just give them food offerings, like pieces of fruit or cake on a plate, and then place them in a special corner on the windowsill, or really build certain corners in the house for them. So it's just one of many ways.
Okay, so as we're going into the new year with all these changes and energies, is there anything that the elementals in general have sent a message for us as, a race of human beings taking care of Gaia? Anything in general, or anything you want to share that we're going forward?
Well, yeah, basically that's one of the hot topics for the elementals, as has always been, and that is our relationship with nature and the way that we treat nature, because they're very, very much dependent on it, and the way that we treat it, because they're badly affected by it and what we do to nature. So as ever, it's very important for them that we change the way that we deal with nature, that we treat it. They demand respect, and they want us to really change our ways with animals and nature as such. So it's very important here to keep that focus also in the new era.
So when a client contacts you, you do have an interface where you're able to introduce them to a fairy message. Is that like introducing them to a spirit guide per se?
Excuse me, I didn't quite get that, because there was a clicking in the background.
The question is that if you were to interact with the client, if they were to reach out to you for an intuitive consultation, you have the ability to introduce them to a fairy guide per se, like a spirit guide?
Yes. Well, I can see whatever elemental they're connected with. I can see it, I can sense it, I can describe it to them. And I will also pass on the messages that the individual fairy or elemental is giving that will be important for the client, because fairies, some people have fairies even though they don't know it, because maybe from past lives they have a certain connection with these beings, and the fairies have the ability to recognize these people. So I can basically pick that up and pass on whatever message that is given to them from the fairies. So yeah.
Debbie, you want to share the story of our experience with fairies?
So, Alia, I don't know if you heard, but Sean and I, we live in the Northwest area by Mount Rainier, and we were going there for just a summer excursion, a hike, and we went to the old growth forest. And this is a few years ago, and I said, well, you don't believe, he wasn't sure about, elementals. And he's like, I don't know about this. So I said, well, if I feel them, I sense them around, kind of scurrying around and kind of hiding. And I just had that feeling about them. And so I said, well, if you don't believe, just tell them to show themselves. And I'm going to take a few pictures here to see if we get anything. And boy, he's in the middle of the old growth forest path. And there was like 20 orbs all around him afterwards. And it's so funny because I said, oh, you don't believe it. What are all these around here? So I thought that was pretty funny of them trying to show him, yep, we are around.
Yes, definitely. That's just one of many signs. So well done there.
We'll have to put that on our blog, Debbie. You'll do that at twinflamesradio.com. And we do have a link to Alia's website. And once again, the website, if people want to visit you to book a direct consultation, what is your web address again?
That's www.fairy-queen.com. And remember to spell fairy with A and E in the middle.
And you are available on Facebook, is that correct?
I'm also available on Facebook and YouTube, so all the links can be found on my website.
Wonderful. And so people across the world can reach out to you directly for an intuitive consultation. You are available for that. And we do have a link on our website at twinflamesradio.com, or you can Facebook us at Twin Flames Radio here on Ask One Radio Network. Now, before we summarize this here, is that we do have a lot of people that have been inquiring about this topic. And moving into 2013, is there any special information you want to share with our large audience? What do you foresee coming up here in the next calendar year? Because there's been a lot of talk about the earth changes, the energetic changes. What would be the mission, the resounding mission you have seen from your perspective as an intuitive?
Well, the way that I've perceived the message from the spirit world is basically that, yes, with the acceleration of the energy due to the new era that we've just started, our manifestations come into form much, much quicker. Everything is amplified. So it's basically a very important time for us now, if we've not done it before, to watch our thoughts, to watch what we send out, because it will manifest much quicker. So we should definitely use it in a positive way in order to manifest and visualize only the positive things that we want to have in our lives and to attract the right stuff, because it really is all about being disciplined and watching what we send out, because the new energies are so much more intense. So I'm actually looking forward to the new year, because I see a lot of changes happening around springtime, so from March onwards. So it should be a good year.
Absolutely. We agree to that.
Yes, we felt that as well. Is there anything that you sense that might be on certain fronts of the changes that might be coming?
Well, I think the way I perceive it, it's basically a lot of people who have experienced quite dark years and phases, and who've had problems in the past, or especially in the last year. But I mean, in this year still, 2012 was quite intense for lots of people. I had lots of challenges. That a lot of these issues will resolve then, and people will feel the challenges on the personal front. And so I'm seeing a lot of positive changes here, lots of darkness going, and matters resolving.
So the law of attraction is really something to pay attention to with your clients.
Definitely, very much, very much.
And have you noticed, from your perspective, that you've getting clients that are awakening more as far as their sixth sense? Is this a pattern you've seen from your perspective?
Well, definitely, yes. It's a thing that I've come across in the past month, that a lot of my clients are now discovering their own psychic abilities, and they've always kind of known they're a bit intuitive themselves. And now with the energies changing, and with the work they're doing as well, because in my readings, I'm also helping them to resolve the matters at their root, so karmic issues, energetic work. And the more they're actually going through this process, they feel like a lot of their own innate gifts are getting revealed and they can actually use. So I'm trying to encourage that as well.
And so as when you're going through the past lives as well, like you were saying, karma and blockages, those things seem to be coming undone easier when you're going through a session with someone?
It's basically a central part of my work, because after all, whatever we're dealing with in this life is, in the end, it's always somehow karma. It's quite amazing what things we take with us from past lives and how they affect us still today. So I get the message from the soul of the client. So I get shown the whole thing in a big picture, like a film, like a movie, and I tell them where this stems from and what needs to be done. So I'm basically just conveying what the soul wants to get rid of, what the soul wants to resolve, and thereby we bring about change.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you see a client that's kind of in a Murphy's Law situation, mm-hmm. The negativity, what would be, if someone listening right now that wants to reach out to you, what, in a general sense, with 2013 and the earth changes that we've all seen and the awakening of consciousness, what general advice can you give to the listening audience if they have the ability to reach out to you, but from a general perspective, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my general advice is to not really and take it as a personal crisis also, but also always understand that whatever problem and issue they're dealing with at the moment is happening for a reason, for a good reason. So basically, the soul is asking them for attention, wants to draw their attention to a certain issue, which is very likely to be old. And once they give it attention, there's always great potential if they seek and reach out for reading to resolve it. And once that's resolved, one can move on. And I always see it as a very positive thing. And especially, I want to tell people that I know that this year has been very tough on a lot of fronts, and for lots of people has had a lot of challenges. But that's the thing that we all had to go through due to the energetic changes. But things will get better. Just wait for a few more weeks, and you'll see that things will get better.
So, Alia, tell us a little bit about your background of from your childhood and how your gifts came to be. As far as I know, it's in your lineage, but you might want to share a little bit about how you got connected more and decided that this was your mission.
Well, the thing for me was that when I was a child, I started having really weird and curious dreams that then became reality. And as a kid, I was quite scared in the beginning. I didn't really know what it meant, but I always felt that there was something to it. This had to be a sign or so. So later on in my teens, I really delved into the topic, and I read lots of books, and the prime was reached during my studies when I was working closely with my also clairvoyant friend Lala Santini, who helped me also to go into that direction more and jump right into it. And during my studies, I basically discovered that this academic sort of career and all that, it wasn't really what my heart wanted to do, because I was very, very passionate about the spiritual things and also anything connected to it, and I just loved it. And I just felt like I didn't want to continue a career in that sort of direction. So I took that step, and I never regretted it. It took a lot of courage for me at the time, but my soul and the spirit world were basically pushing me into that direction, and I just followed the higher call.
That's wonderful. And I read a little bit about on your website about the light magic and light work by the Ascended Masters, angels, and all that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the Ascended Masters and the angels were basically teachers during my spiritual training years, as I like to call them, because when I went to uni, that was also the same time when I got properly trained by the spirit world. They just started to appear, and then they would give me lessons every night. So they like to work at nights, I think, because everything was quiet around me then, and they could get through easier than during the daytime. So yeah, they would appear all of a sudden and give me messages, give me lessons, and that's why I refer to them as my teachers as well. And I'm very grateful. Later on, they basically made way to just the goddess and God. I work with them, or we can also talk about them as some people maybe not liking the term God or goddess, so they can look at them at the primal source and the universal source of everything. But the way I saw them was actually as God and goddess, so that's how they revealed themselves to me, and they're very dependable sources. What I do, and what's very important when working with light working, is everything needs to be protected. So I only get the proper light beings to work with. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and we commend you for being a leader, international leader, and stepping out and being forthright with your spiritual work.
Thank you.
Because it certainly does show that you're dedicated, and your calling for spirit work does not go unnoticed here, especially with here in North America. We admired you from our part of the world too. And if any of our listening audience are just turning in here on A1R Psychic Talk Radio, the Twin Flames Radio Show, we do broadcast every Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you can visit our website at twinflamesradio.com to check your local time and listing, and of course download any show after the broadcast via podcast iTunes.
Yes, and Alia, your website is again
www.fairy-queen.com, and remember to spell fairy with A and E in the middle.
So FAERY. Okay.
Queen.com, yes.
Queen. Okay, wonderful.
Well, we thank you so much for joining our audience here, and we encourage you to reach out to you directly, and of course Facebook us, and we can certainly, there's a link to our website for it. And so we do thank you again for joining us on our broadcast.
And
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you, Alia, for sharing this time with us and with our listeners. And we wish everyone out there much light and love from all of us.
And a very, very happy New Year, 2013.
Yes, a happy New Year with the new energies for all.